We're always told to speak our minds, to make sure we're heard. But what if the most powerful thing you could do is actually say nothing at all? Today, we're going to dive into the hidden power of silence and why, in this world of constant noise, saying less can give you a really incredible advantage.
I know, it sounds totally backward, right? We're taught from a young age to speak up, express ourselves, make our voices heard. But what if that's not always the best move? What if the real path to influence, to control, is actually paved with a little more quiet intention?
Leonardo da Vinci just absolutely nailed it with this analogy, didn't he? Think about it. An oyster that's wide open, it's defenseless. And that's exactly what we do when we talk too much. We expose everything, our plans, our weaknesses, our insecurities, and we put ourselves completely at the mercy of whoever happens to be listening.
Okay, so to really see just how vulnerable this can make someone, let's look at a classic cautionary tale. It's the tragic story of a Roman hero whose biggest enemy wasn't some foreign army on the battlefield, but his own mouth.
So, let's meet Genius Marcius Coriolanus. On the battlefield, this guy was a legend, basically a demigod. He spent 17 years fighting for Rome, and the people, well, they adored him for it. But since he was always away at war, this powerful mystique built up around his name. He wasn't really a person to them. He was a symbol of Roman valor.
So at first, his election looks like a sure thing. He starts off brilliantly by just showing the crowd his battle scars. People were literally moved to tears without him saying much at all. But then, yeah, you guessed it, he started talking. And as you can see with every single speech, he just kept digging himself into a deeper and deeper hole. First, he goes on an arrogant rant, then he insults the very people who are about to vote for him, and finally, when they give him a chance to just apologize, he launches into one last tirade that completely seals his fate.
I mean, it's just incredible. The legend of Coriolanus just, poof, vanished the second he opened his mouth. He went from this revered hero to just another common braggart. By talking so much, he proved he couldn't control his own impulses. And really, if you can't control yourself, how can anyone trust you to lead? He literally talked his way out of his own country. All right, so now let's flip the script completely. We're going from a man who couldn't stop talking to a king who built an absolute empire by saying, well, almost nothing. King Louis XIV of France.
I want you to picture the scene at the Palace of Versailles. It is a total pressure cooker of ambition. You've got nobles and ministers constantly arguing, scheming, debating, all of them desperate to get the king's attention and approval. Just a constant storm of words, right? And right in the middle of this verbal hurricane, you've got the king. His ministers would spend hours presenting these detailed cases, just anxiously waiting for him to make a decision. And after all of that, Louis would look at them with a totally unreadable expression and just say, "I shall see." And that was it. He'd just walk away. And you can imagine the effect this had, right? It was incredible. His silence was a weapon. Nobody knew what he was thinking. And in their nervousness, they just kept talking, desperate to fill that silence. And in that nervousness, they just started spilling everything. Their fears, their ambitions, their weaknesses. Louis learned way more by just listening than he ever could have by talking. One of the guys in his court, a courtier named Saint Simon, he just summed it up perfectly. He said that Louis's power wasn't just in his actions, but in what he didn't say. Because his words were so rare, every little smile, every glance, it all became incredibly valuable and loaded with meaning. His silence just made him seem bigger, more powerful. Okay, so we've got these two amazing historical examples. One, a total catastrophe, the other, a masterclass in control. But why? What is it about saying less that's so incredibly effective? Let's get into the psychology of it.
So what's really going on here? Well, first off, you just seem more powerful. When you're quiet, people project their own ideas onto you. They assume you're having these deep, profound thoughts. And second, you get other people to do all the work for you. Remember Louis's ministers? Silence creates this vacuum that people just rush to fill, and when they do, they reveal everything. And maybe most importantly, you avoid pulling a Coriolanus. If you're not talking, you literally can't say something foolish or dangerous that you'll regret. Your rare words become like gold, and people will spend all their time and energy trying to figure out what you really meant.
Look, if you need one last story to really drive home the danger of a loose tongue, this is it. It's 1825 in Russia. A rebel leader is about to be executed, and then a miracle happens. He gets a second chance at life. So this guy, his name was Kondraty Ryliev. He's up on the gallows, the trapdoor opens, and the rope snaps.
He crashes to the ground, totally alive. Now back then, something like this was seen as an act of God, like a divine pardon. But as he gets to his feet, instead of just staying quiet, he just couldn't help himself. He had to get in one last sarcastic shot at the state.
So a messenger rushes to the Tsar, Nicholas I, tells him what happened. The Tsar was actually in the middle of signing the official pardon. But he stops and he asks, did Ryleyev say anything after? The messenger repeats the joke. And the Tsar's response? It's absolutely chilling. He tears up the pardon and he says, in that case, let us prove the contrary. The next day, they hanged him again. And this time the rope held, all because of one stupid sentence.
Okay, and this is a big but, silence isn't some magic trick that works every time. It's a tool, not an absolute law. Sometimes being the quiet, mysterious person in the corner just makes people suspicious of you. And in those moments, talking is actually the smarter play.
So let's break this down, right? On one hand, you have silent power. It's amazing for creating that aura of mystery and intimidation. But on the other hand, you've got strategic talk, which can be this brilliant smokescreen. By chattering away about nothing, you can totally distract people from what you're really up to. You can make yourself seem harmless, simple, and totally open, the exact opposite of a schemer. It's kind of like the court jester strategy, you know? Play the fool while secretly being the smartest one in the room. It's all about picking the right tool for the right job.
So I guess I'll just leave you with this thought. In a world of constant noise, social media, 24-hour news, endless commentary, where everyone is fighting to be heard, maybe the real power belongs to the person who has the discipline and the wisdom to know when to just be quiet. So ask yourself, what could you gain if you started choosing your silences as carefully as you choose your words?